transformed him into a different creature. "He cannot take it off," Nagatomo whispered to Eisei. "Cannot or will not. It is fused to his face in some way." "It must be because of what happened at Ryosonji," Eisei said, as if he had been thinking about it over and over. "The dragon child was awakened, my former master destroyed. Finding that overwhelming power and releasing it came at a price." "Has it burned him?" Nagatomo wondered aloud. "As it did us?" "He does not seem to be in pain," Eisei replied. "Not physical pain," he added after a long pause. Mid-afternoon on the 4th or 5th day, he was beginning to lose count. Every day was the same. Steep gorges, flooding rivers, huge boulders, the wild cries of kites in the day and owls at night, the humid air that made them sweat profusely until just before dawn, when they shivered in their sodden clothes. Nagatomo noticed the woman was no longer following. The foal had been restless, trotting back along the track, almost as if it were trying to attract his attention, making its mother balk and neigh piercingly after it. The lord was far in front, Gen, the fake wolf, close to the stallion's heels, as always. Eisei pulled on the mare's bridle, yelling at her. "I'll catch up with you," Nagatomo said, and began to walk back the way they had come. The foal whickered at him. It was uncanny how intelligent it was. Often it seemed on the point of speaking in a human voice. It trotted confidently ahead of him. He told himself he was being a fool, trailing after a horse. As Eisei said, it was just a coincidence. She had not been following them, and even if she had, he should be relieved she no longer was. After Ryosonji, the lord was a hunted man, an outlaw. Any one of Aritomo's retainers might be on their trail, hoping to win the Minatogura lord's favor as well as great rewards. Maybe it was not a woman at all, but a warrior in disguise. Maybe it was a mountain sorcerer or a witch. But the foal knew her. He was certain of that. How long was it since he had last been aware of her? He could not be sure. There was no way of knowing exactly what hour it was, with the sun hidden all day behind dense cloud. He was hungry enough for it to be almost evening, but he had been hungry since he woke, and the sparse dried meat and unripe yams had done little to fill his stomach. He walked for what seemed like a long time. The mare's cries grew fainter, and then he could no longer hear her at all. But the foal still trotted forward, stopping at every bend to check if Nagatomo was following. The woman was sitting on a rock by the track, her head low, her face buried in her arms, her hands bound together in front of her. She did not move at their approach, but when the foal nuzzled her, she put out her tied hands and pulled its head close to her. It allowed her to embrace it for a few moments, breathing out heavily. Then it nudged her more insistently. She raised her head slowly and looked at Nagatomo. Her face was streaked with tears, her eyes and lips swollen with grief. He thought he must be an alarming sight with the black face covering and his long sword and knife, but she showed no fear. In fact, she looked as if grief had consumed her and left no room for any other emotion. He started to speak, but at that moment the foal squealed and leaped backward. The woman, as she fell, looked beyond Nagatomo, and he, forewarned by something in her eyes, had drawn his sword in an instant and turned to face his attackers. One called, "Are you Kumayama no Kazumaru, known as Shikanoko, wanted for murder and rebellion?" "Come and find out," Nagatomo said. He was assessing them quickly. They had emerged from the forest while he was distracted by the woman. How long had they been following them? Was she one of them? Part of the trap? The foal whinnied and horses neighed in reply. The men wore crests of 3 pine trees on their jackets and held swords, but they did not appear to have bows. "It is he," the second man said. "He covers his face to hide the demon mask." "There should be 3 horses," the first said, hesitating for one fatal moment, during which Nagatomo flew at him, flicking the man's sword from his hand with a twist of his own, and with a returning stroke slicing him through the neck.